Tonight on Friday, October 3rd, 2025, we are going to be discussing the tropics and going over the areas we need to watch over the next couple of weeks. To start off, we have Disturbance 1 here over the Bahamas and then off the southeast coast of Florida. And so this area has a very low chance of developing within the next 2 and 7 days. It only has a 10% chance for both 2 and 7 days. So we don't really need to worry about this right now, but we'll show it on some of the global models. And the main concern with this is just some heavy rain, primarily over the Bahamas, but also into portions of Florida as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. We head to the east here into the eastern and central Atlantic. And so we look off the west coast of Africa, and we also have Disturbance 2, which has a 0% chance to develop within the next 2 days and a 50% chance to develop within the next 7 days. So this will be the kind of main topic for tonight's update. And this area obviously has a higher chance to develop, so we'll cover it a little more extensively. But that is the latest on any disturbances we have in the tropical Atlantic at this time. And we also have post-tropical cyclone Imelda, which is just a 70 mile per hour post-tropical cyclone. And so it's going to continue to move to the northeast and not affect anybody. So for the disturbance off the southeast coast of Florida and then into the Bahamas, we're just going to be looking at the European and GFS weather model. And so as we go into tomorrow on Saturday, we'll go to tomorrow morning. As you can see there, all of the kind of disorganized storm activity over and to the east of the Bahamas. And so we also have some rain and storms kind of moving into southern Florida by tomorrow evening. And so this never really does get it developed into anything, which is definitely a good thing. And I'll explain why this doesn't develop into anything in just a moment. But even as we get into Monday, get into Tuesday, just have plenty of moisture hanging around this area. But once again, does not get developed into anything on the European. Same with the GFS. We'll go back a little bit, go to tomorrow. There's all that activity. Go into Sunday, into Monday, still nothing develops there, and it just hangs around that area. We look at tomorrow on Saturday, and I'll explain why this doesn't develop into anything. We look at our moisture into the kind of lower to mid levels, really lower to upper levels of the atmosphere, I should say. And so you can see how this moisture here kind of to the east of the Bahamas, and then as we go into Sunday, it tries to move slowly westward, but is still suppressed by a lot of dry air to the north and does not get it developed into anything. And then also as we get to midweek, looks like some dry air will start to move down, and that will inhibit its development. We go to the upper level winds, and this also plays a role in this as well. Shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere will prevent this from developing really into anything significant. As we get into Monday, we go to tomorrow on Saturday, and it is just not a favorable environment as far as shear goes for tropical development. And so that's really the main reason why this will not develop into anything. So now switching things to Disturbance 2 off the west coast of Africa. And so we'll look at quite a few of the global models, and then we'll look at the ensembles, and that will give us really a better idea of how likely the system is to develop into anything really significant. So if we look at the GFS to begin with, and once again, don't take all of these models as they're going to happen. Take it kind of with a grain of salt right now, because we still are just a little far out before we can really determine exactly what area or who this may affect. But nonetheless, getting started on the GFS weather model, as you can see right here, here's all of our moisture and thunderstorm activity as we get to Saturday evening tomorrow. And then into Sunday, it gets that low pressure developed on Sunday into Monday, continues it to the west, doesn't really develop it too quickly. Then finally, as it gets into the central Atlantic and then towards the Lesser Antilles, it starts to strengthen gradually, and then tries to make that northward turn, and finally gets on up and then out to sea on the GFS model. If we look at the European weather model as well, we'll look at a few others. This is the 18Z run, so this will go out to 144 hours. We see our area here looks pretty disorganized on the European weather model by Sunday. We go into Monday, into Tuesday, Wednesday, still is very disorganized. And then as it gets right near the Lesser Antilles here, um, it's just kind of lingers over this area into the later and almost into the Greater Antilles. And then as we get into this upcoming Thursday, this is only a 12Z run from this morning because it goes farther out. We can look at it a little better. And then as we get to Thursday, Friday, gets a low pressure developed there just for a moment on Friday. Then into next weekend, it tries to develop something just last minute, and then never does get anything fully developed out of that. So that's a scenario we want to see right there. We take a look at the European AI model. I'll go a little bit quicker because most of the models are in agreement as far as the path or general path of this, as far as getting near the Lesser Antilles. After it gets near the Lesser Antilles, that's where things get a little bit more, details get a little bit more fuzzy. As we go into Tuesday and Wednesday on the European AI model, it closely follows the European operational model. It does not really get it developed into anything significant. We look at the Canadian model as well. We go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, gets it into a tropical storm by Tuesday. Go into Wednesday, hurricane, and then gets it on up and pushes it on out to sea. We'll look at the NavGem model as well. This goes to 144 hours out, so back this up a little bit. Pretty much the same story. Gets it westward towards the Lesser Antilles by Thursday as a maybe tropical depression potentially. And then if we look at the Icon model, lastly, it's not fully loaded here. We'll go to the 18Z run, back this up a little more. Go into Sunday, go into Monday, and then it has that around a maybe a week tropical depression at most. And then as we get into Wednesday, that's as far as it goes. And then it tries to get into a weak tropical storm as it gets near the Lesser Antilles by Wednesday, maybe into Thursday as well. So as far as timing, we have a pretty decent idea as to when this may get near the Lesser Antilles, at least by the latter half of next week is the idea right now. So that's the details we have with some of the global models. We look at the ensembles as well. We'll look at the EPS and GEFS ensembles. So if we look at the 18Z run, we go into Sunday, and then we see all of our members start to pop up here, and those are the red numbers on your screen. And then as we get into Monday, we have a good bit of members showing maybe a tropical depression, tropical storm by this point. And then we get into Thursday on the 18Z EPS, and we have a few members getting into the Lesser Antilles and also a few members just north of the Lesser Antilles, but not a whole lot on the EPS ensembles. We look at the 12Z run from this morning. It's a little bit more aggressive, and it gets some members into the Lesser and Greater Antilles, maybe as a tropical depression, tropical storm, and then after that, details are not clear really at all as we get into next weekend on the ensembles, the EPS ensembles. We go further, and it's just a mix of many different things. So if we back this up here and we take a look at the GEFS ensembles lastly, we'll go into tomorrow evening, then into Sunday morning. We have a lot, really not a lot, but quite a few members showing up here, which means the GEFS ensembles want to get this developed into something a little more than the EPS ensembles. And then as we go into Monday, go into Tuesday, it is a little bit more aggressive than the EPS ensembles. We go into Thursday, Friday, we see a handful of members near the Lesser Antilles, and also kind of a handful of members to the north of Lesser Antilles, kind of a split here on the GEFS ensembles. And then we see a few creeping towards the Greater Antilles, but a pretty decent amount show it curving on out to sea as well. Just to compare guidance, we'll go to the 12Z run from this morning, and it has a pretty similar setup with the latest 18Z run. It just has a few more members near the Greater Antilles and into kind of the Caribbean as well. And so that's where we'll probably wrap things up with today's update. And so we'll continue to watch this area over the next week, week and a half, even up to 2 weeks potentially. We may still be talking about this area, but really nothing to worry about right now. But we'll continue to monitor the global models and the ensembles. I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a great weekend.